elettronici, nel rispetto degli altri viaggiatori. Invitiamo, inoltre, eventuali viaggiatori sprovvisti di biglietto valido a fare
2018 when I had my first glance of the Colosseum, in Rome, Italy. This ancient structure is gigantic, colossal oval amphitheater in the center of the city of Rome, Italy. It is also close to many historical sites of the Roman Empire like the Roman Forum. Colosseum is the largest ancient amphitheater ever built of the Roman world and is still the largest standing amphitheater in the world today, despite of its more than 2,000 years of existence. It is a magnificent beautiful building but also had a horrible stories of many people died in the arena. The Colosseum was constructed under the Emperor Vespasian in year 69 to 79 AD. And was completed in year 80 AD under his successor and heir, Titus. Further modifications of the Colosseum were also made during the reign of Domitian in year 81 to 96 AD. The three emperors that were patrons of the work are known as the Flavian Dynasty, and the amphitheater was named the Flavian Amphitheater. The Colosseum is built of travertine limestone, tuff, or volcanic rock, and brick-faced concrete. The Colosseum could hold an estimated 50,000 spectators to 80,000 spectators at various points in its history, and you can just imagine how big this ancient structure of the Roman Empire. The Colosseum is a wonder structure but was used also for bloody gladiatorial contests and public spectacles. In its existence bloody sports which includes animal huntings, executions, reenactments of famous battles, and dramas based on Roman mythology, and briefly mock sea battles. Although ruined after many years because of earthquakes and stone robber, the Colosseum is still an iconic symbol of Imperial Rome and was listed as one of the new 7 wonders of the world. Rome's most popular tourist attractions and also has links to the Roman Catholic Church, as each Good Friday the Pope leads a torch-lit Way of the Cross procession that starts in the area around the Colosseum, and remembering also of the thousands of Christians who died in the arena. The site chosen to build the Colosseum was a flat area on the floor of a low valley between the Coelian, Esquiline, and Palatine hills, through which a canalized stream ran as well as an artificial lake or marsh. By the 2nd century BC the area was densely inhabited. It was devastated by the Great Fire of Rome in 64 AD, following which Nero seized much of the area to add to his personal domain. He built the grandiose Domus Aurea on the site, in front of which he created an artificial lake surrounded by pavilions, gardens, and porticos. The existing Aqua Claudia aqueduct was extended to supply water to the area, and the gigantic bronze colossus of Nero was set up nearby at the entrance to the Domus Aurea. Although the Colossus was preserved, much of the Domus Aurea was torn down. The lake was filled in and the land reused as the location for the new Flavian Amphitheater. Gladiatorial schools and other support buildings were constructed nearby within the former grounds of the Domus Aurea. Vespasian's decision to build the Colosseum on the site of Nero's lake can be seen as a populist gesture of returning to the people an area of the city which Nero had appropriated for his own use. In contrast to many other amphitheaters, which were on the outskirts of a city, the Colosseum was constructed in the city center, in effect, placing it both symbolically and precisely at the heart of Rome. During the inaugural games were held in 80 or 81 AD. Dio Cassius recounts that over 9,000 wild animals were killed during the inaugural games of the amphitheater. Commemorative coinage was issued celebrating the inauguration. In 217, the Colosseum was badly damaged by a major fire caused by lightning, according to Dio Cassius, which destroyed the wooden upper levels of the amphitheater's interior. It was not fully repaired until about 240 and underwent further repairs in 250 or 252 and again in 320. Honorius banned the practice of gladiator fights in 399 and again in 404. Gladiatorial fights are last mentioned around 435. The Colosseum underwent several radical changes of use. By the late 6th century a small chapel had been built into the structure of the amphitheater, though this apparently did not confer any particular religious significance on the building as a whole. The arena was converted into a cemetery. The numerous vaulted spaces in the arcades under the seating were converted into housing and workshops, and are recorded as still being rented out as late as the 12th century. Around 1200 the Frangipani family took over the Colosseum and fortified it, apparently using it as a castle. Severe damage was inflicted on the Colosseum by the Great Earthquake in 1349, causing the outer south side, lying on a less stable alluvial terrain, to collapse. Much of the tumbled stone was reused to build palaces, churches, hospitals, and other buildings elsewhere in Rome. A religious order moved into the northern third of the Colosseum in the mid-14th century and continued to inhabit it until as late as the early 19th century. During the 16th and 17th century, church officials sought a productive role for the Colosseum. Pope Sixtus V from year 1585 to 1590 planned to turn the building into a wool factory to provide employment for Rome's prostitutes, though this proposal fell through with his premature death. In year 1671 Cardinal Altieri authorized its use for bullfights. A public outcry caused the idea to be hastily abandoned. In 1749, Pope Benedict XIV endorsed the view that the Colosseum was a sacred site where early Christians had been martyred. He forbade the use of the Colosseum as a quarry and consecrated the building to the Passion of Christ and installed Stations of the Cross, declaring it sanctified by the blood of the Christian martyrs who perished there. Later popes initiated various stabilization and restoration projects, removing the extensive vegetation which had overgrown the structure and threatened to damage it further. The facade was reinforced with triangular brick wedges in years 1807 and 1827, and the interior was repaired in 1831, 1846 and in the 1930s. The arena substructure was partly excavated in 1810 to 1814 and 1874 and was fully exposed under Benito Mussolini in the 1930s. The Colosseum is today one of Rome's most popular tourist attractions, receiving millions of visitors annually. The effects of pollution and general deterioration over time prompted a major restoration program carried out between 1993 and 2000, at a cost of 40 billion Italian lire or $19 million. In recent years, the Colosseum has become a symbol of the international campaign against capital punishment, which was abolished in Italy in 1948. Several anti-death penalty demonstrations took place in front of the Colosseum in 2000. Since that time, as a gesture against the death penalty, the local authorities of Rome changed the color of the Colosseum's nighttime illumination from white to gold whenever a person condemned to the death penalty anywhere in the world gets their sentence commuted or is released, or if a jurisdiction abolishes the death penalty. Most recently, The Colosseum was illuminated in gold in November 2012 following the abolishment of capital punishment in the American state of Connecticut in April 2012. The Colosseum's huge crowd capacity made it essential that the venue could be filled or evacuated quickly. Its architects adopted solutions very similar to those used in modern stadiums to deal with the same problem. The amphitheater was ringed by 80 entrances at ground level, 76 of which were used by ordinary spectators. Each entrance and exit was numbered, as was each staircase. The northern main entrance was reserved for the Roman emperor and his aides, whilst the other three axial entrances were most likely used by the elite. All four axial entrances were richly decorated with painted stucco reliefs, of which fragments survive. The Colosseum is generally regarded by Christians as a site of the martyrdom of large numbers of believers during the persecution of Christians in the Roman Empire, as evidenced by church history and tradition. The scholars assert that some Christians were executed as common criminals in the Colosseum, their crime being refusal to reverence the Roman gods. In the Middle Ages, the Colosseum was not regarded as a monument, and was used as what some modern sources label a quarry, which is to say that stones from the Colosseum were taken for the building of other sacred sites. This fact is used to support the idea that, at a time when sites associated with martyrs were highly venerated, the Colosseum was not being treated as a sacred site. Pope Pius V is said to have recommended that pilgrims gather sand from the arena of the Colosseum to serve as a relic, on the grounds that it was impregnated with the blood of martyrs, although some of his contemporaries did not share his conviction. A century later, Flavian Martinelli listed the Colosseum at the head of a list of places sacred to the martyrs in his 1653 book Roma ex Ethnica Sacra. Martinelli's book evidently had an effect on public opinion. In response to Cardinal Altieri's proposal some years later to turn the Colosseum into a bull ring, Carlo Tomasi published a pamphlet in protest against what he regarded as an act of desecration. The ensuing controversy persuaded Pope Clement X to close the Colosseum's external arcades and declare it a sanctuary. At the insistence of St. Leonard of Port Maurice, Pope Benedict XIV forbade the quarrying of the Colosseum and erected stations of the cross around the arena, which remained until February 1874. Several 19th-century popes funded repair and restoration work on the Colosseum, and it still retains its Christian connection today. Cross dedicated to the Christian martyrs, placed in 2000 by Pope John Paul II. A Christian cross stands in the Colosseum, with a plaque, stating, "The amphitheater, one consecrated to triumphs, entertainments, and the impious worship of pagan gods, is now dedicated to the sufferings of the martyrs purified from impious superstitions." Other Christian crosses stand in several points around the arena, and every Good Friday the Pope leads a Via Crucis procession to the amphitheater.